Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is me, 8744. So today, guys, we'll be doing our Champions League predictions for the year 2023-2024. So I want to know your predictions in the comments below, guys. Remember, guys, to like and subscribe. I want to see us reach 30 likes in this video, guys. And yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to do a comprehensive group preview for all the groups. So let's start with Group A, guys. So Group A, we have Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Copenhagen, Galatasaray. Let's talk about each team. So Bayern Munich, of course, are coming into this Champions League with, on the brink of a disappointing Champions League last season. Obviously they were not that so great. Got destroyed by Man City. And this season they're looking to rectify things. They brought in Harry Kane this summer that can solve the goal scoring issues. Because that was a huge concern last season for Bayern. Is their goal scoring, the striker department in particular, and the defense. The defense was absolutely abysmal against City, and they brought in Kim Min-jae, who can further solidify the defense, and of course is a Serie A winner. Manchester United have also had a great window this summer. They brought in a lot of good players. They brought in Mount, they brought Onana, they brought in Amrabat, and they brought in Rasmus Højlund. Okay, so they're looking to strengthen as well. Copenhagen, of course, we know what they're capable of doing. They're always a difficult team to beat. They're not. They may not have much quality going forward, but they are defensively tough to break down, and as we've seen, they're decent at home. So look out for them. And the Galatasaray, of course, it's good to see they're back in the Champions League after a hiatus of, I think, 3 years. 3 years, I think. So it's good to see they're back. And they're back in big time. They brought in a lot of players. They brought in Cardi last season. He's been firing for them. Then you got Torreira, you got Zaha as well. The team is unbelievable. And yeah, man, this team is a team to look out for. So now let's get to my predictions, guys. Let's get to how I think this group is going to pan out, guys. So coming in last place, guys, I have is Copenhagen. I think Copenhagen for me will not have enough. I think Copenhagen for me, I've just not really been convinced with them. Yes, they made it to the Champions League, but I just feel like for me they have not really been that convincing. And I feel like in this difficult group, they're not going to do much in this group. Now, I will say this, though. I do think they can get some points. They could get some points against the big teams. Like, they could possibly, threat qualification for both United and Galatasaray. And so, yeah. Third, I have Galatasaray. Galatasaray, for me, is going to come very close. I think what's going to let them down is the fact that they're going to mess up on the road. Because as good as they are at home, their home field advantage is incredible. They have a fortress at home. I just feel like, for me, they're going to mess up away from home and those kind of defining games. I feel like they're going to mess up against Copenhagen. And I think that's what could cost them qualification, is that they could very well beat United at home. But they may draw away to Copenhagen, which could definitely hurt their chances. And second place in the group I have is Manchester United. Manchester United, of course, they should be qualifying from this group, given the players they have. But as much as I praise United, I still feel like United have a lot of issues defensively. Defensively, these guys have been great this season. And also, their away from home record is abysmal. I'm sorry, their away from home record is not great. And so that's what makes me believe they could struggle in this group. And, I think they should have enough to qualify, but I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys in the Europa League. I wouldn't be surprised. At the top of the group, guys, I have is Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, for me, have been unbelievable. They always do well in the group stage. I think they've toughed the last 2 seasons, perfect record, 18 points. They've gone and beaten the group stage for a long time. I think the last time they lost a group stage match was against PSG. That was a long time ago, man. So, Bayern, for me, man, they should be they're going to cakewalk this group, man. They're going to cakewalk this group. So, yeah, man, those are my Group A predictions, man. Let's move on to Group B, man. Group B. So, we have Sevilla, of course, Europa League winners. We know what they're capable of doing. And obviously for Sevilla, their ambition is probably the Europa League, not really the Champions League, if I'm being honest with you. And obviously they have the quality players. En-Nesyri is one player to look out for. He's been on fire for them. Probably the most notable player. Rakitic has also been really good as well. Look out for him. And yeah, for Sevilla, they sold a lot of key players this summer. They sold Bono this summer, which is a huge loss. And I believe they sold Montiel as well, I believe. So yeah. Arsenal, of course, welcome back to the Champions League. After a long hiatus, it's good to see they're finally back. And they've been given a very kind group, man. Somebody even called this the Europa League group, Arsenal. Arsenal, we know what the quality of players they have. Bukayo Saka is the most notable. Martin Odegaard is amazing, of course. Then you also have the likes of, obviously, Gabriel, Ben White. The list goes on. They have an incredible bunch of players. PSV Eindhoven, we know what this team is capable of doing. They're back in the Champions League after a long hike, after a few seasons not being in it. And they're looking good, man. They're looking good. They destroyed Rangers to get to the Champions League, and they're looking very good in their attack. You know, you have the likes of Pepe, then you have the likes of Noah Lang, then you also have the likes of Luke de Jong, and they just brought in Lozano. So I feel like this PSV team is looking great. Their midfield is also decent as well, and you know, and then obviously the defense is decent as well. So looking for PSV. Lons, man, shout out to Lons. They actually made the Champions League in a very long time, and this team is looking great. This team is looking amazing. They have some good players, and I'm really keen to see how they do in this group, in a very interesting competitive group. Now for my preview, guys, my prediction. Coming in last place, guys, is Lons. I just feel like for me, Lons is going to really struggle in this group. I just feel like for me, some of their best players like Fofana and Openda is going to really hurt them. And even though they do have a decent team on paper, I just feel like for me this is going to be too difficult group. And given the fact they're going to probably be more focused on the league rather than the Champions League, I think we'll set them back. I hope they actually manage to get third personally. And the third place, I have Sevilla. We know Sevilla is going to probably... we know Sevilla has ambitions elsewhere. And I just don't think they have the quality in the Champions League, if I'm being honest with you guys. They just don't have it. And, you know... And I just feel like for me, they're trying to do this on purpose. They're trying to do this on purpose and get third. And yeah, I think they will get third. At second, the group has PSV. PSV for me are just looking great. I think what PSV have shown is their attack is great. I have some concerns about PSV on the road though, which is kind of my big concern. But I think at home they're a very formidable team, and I think that's gonna ultimately be the reason why they make it through. At second place, and of course Arsenal. Arsenal should top this group. Arsenal have the quality of players to compete, and you know, it should be interesting. And you know what's really interesting, guys? I believe Arsenal played against PSV in Europa League last season. PSV played against Sevilla last season in Europa League. Like, all three of these clubs, beside Lens, were in the Europa League last season. Isn't that crazy, guys? Isn't that crazy? So, you know, recency bias. Well, you know, maybe PSV can get revenge in this group. Yeah, so, recency there. Then we have Group C, guys. We have Napoli, of course, the Serie A winners. They won the league for the first time in a very long time since Maradona had won, of course. And they're looking great, man. You have amazing players like Osimhen, Kvaratskhelia, you know, then you have Lobotka as well. Really insane players. And look up for Napoli, guys. Real Madrid, of course, we know what they're capable of doing. They're Champions League royalty, of course. Real Madrid have won this competition the most times, 14 times in their history. It's unbelievable. And can they win it for the 15th time? We'll have to wait and see. Braga, of course. It's good to see they're back in the Champions League after a long time, guys. Look out for Braga, guys. I think they could do something in this group. They're very good at home. You can't underestimate Portuguese teams, man. I think Union Berlin, man. Union Berlin is making their Champions League debut for the first time in their history. So look out for these guys, man, because these guys have been unbelievable with set pieces. These guys are very good when it comes to set pieces, guys. They're defensively very well organized, and they're set pieces FC, to be honest with you guys. And so yeah, let's talk about the prediction. So, and coming in last place, I have is Braga. I just feel like for Braga, my issue with Braga is they just don't have the quality. I just don't think they have the individual players to compete in this group. And I feel like they're going to come short. And I feel like what's going to set them back is their away games. I think the away games they're going to have against Real Madrid, Napoli, and Union Berlin is going to really be difficult for them. So, you know, that's why I don't think they'll do. I think they're going to finish bottom. Third I have in the group is Union Berlin. Union Berlin, we know what they're capable of doing. They have been phenomenal this last season in the league. You know, they definitely defied the odds. And I just feel like for me, Union Berlin, they're going to do well in this group. Now, how well will they do? I don't think they can get top two. I think top two is a bit of a stretch. But given how Napoli have changed their coaches and everything, which we'll get into a little bit later, they could possibly get second. I could see them getting second, but I can't see them getting first. The second place in the group is Napoli. Even though I have Napoli in second, I'm not very confident with this pick because Napoli have regressed, in my opinion, this season. They're not the same attacking force as they used to be. And I feel like the loss of Kim Min-jae, the loss of their coach Spalletti, is going to set them back. And I feel like Rudy Garcia is not a very good coach. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Napoli go down to the Europa League, even though they shouldn't. And of course, Real Madrid, they should be able to top this group. Now, that being said, though, as much as I think Real Madrid should top, I'm not very confident in this pick because Real Madrid there are some important players that are not going to be present for the group stage, I believe. Courtois is not going to be there. He's going to be out for like almost the entire season. Militao is going to be out. And then you also have potentially Vinicius that could be out as well. So Real Madrid do have some big players being injured. However, I do think they'll be fine as Jude Bellingham has been in insane goal scoring form. So I think Jude Bellingham will be fine. I think Jude Bellingham will be able to carry the mantle in this group and, be able to see his side progress. And of course, you also have Rodrigo that's there as well, Valverde. Real Madrid should have enough quality. I'm just not really confident with them to per se top the group. Group D, Benfica. We know what they did last season in the Champions League. They topped an incredible group with PSG, Dortmund, and Maccabi Haifa. And what they did in the group was phenomenal. They got to the round of 16. They destroyed Club Brugge. And the quarterfinals, they put up an admirable fight against Inter. And they were fantastic. Inter, of course, the Champions League finalists from last season. They have been, they've had kind of a bad window. Sold a lot of key players this summer. They sold Onana. They sold Brozovic as well. They did replace, though, with players like Marcus Thuram, who is a good replacement, and they did bring in Jan Sommer from Bayern Munich, of course. Salzburg, we know what these guys are capable of doing. They always are a difficult Austrian team to play against, and they're very difficult. They're very well organized. And then, of course, Sociedad, they're making they're back in the Champions League after a very, very long time. So let's see what Sociedad is capable of doing. Coming in last place, guys, I have Sociedad. I feel like for me, Sociedad, guys, I've just not really been that convinced with. I'm sorry to say. I just feel like for me, these guys haven't really proven it to me. And I feel like these guys are going to disappoint this group. And that even though I do think this group is doable for them in the sense I think they could get third, I just feel like for me, they're going to let themselves down. Players like Kubo is, of course, there. He's going to try to do his best. Then, obviously, you also have Romero, who's a decent keeper. Then you have Oyarzabal as well. I just feel like they're going to struggle in this group, and I just don't see them doing well. Third place in the group is Salzburg. Of course, we know Salzburg is capable of doing. They're a very well-organized team, and they got some good players, man. They got some good players, and I think they're going to cause some problems for Inter and Benfica, respectively. But I don't think they can get more than third. The second in the group is Benfica. Benfica, for me, have had an amazing window. They brought in so many good players this summer. They brought in Di Maria. They brought in Kochu from Feyenoord, of course, that won the league. And obviously, they also won the league for the first time in a long time, after 4 seasons, I believe. So, Benfica, man, Roger Schmidt has done a fantastic job. And who knows? He could very well top this group. And the first I have in the group is Inter. I think Inter, for me, have honestly been amazing. I think you have to give credit to Inzaghi, what he's done with the team to get them where they are. And I just feel like for Inzaghi in particular, Inter is a very good team. They're a very good cup team as well. We know what they did last season in the Champions League. They were very difficult to play against. They're tactically very well organized, the 3-5-2, defensively solid, and their attack was lethal as well in the counter-attack. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Inter does in this group. I'm really keen to see how that Inter-Benfica rematch is going to happen, of course, and that's going to be interesting. So, yeah, man. All right, so moving on to Group E, guys. We have Feyenoord. Of course, they won the league last season. Just champions. You have to give credit to their coach, Arne Slot, who's done a fantastic job with the team, playing the high-pressing football. And we know what Feyenoord is capable of doing. They have been amazing. They did lose some big players. I think the loss of Coach is probably the most notable loss. However, I do think this Feyenoord team is still a team to look out for. They're still going to cause some issues in this group. They have some decent players, of course. Bill Ho is a decent goalkeeper as well. And obviously, they got some great players. Santiago Jimenez, of course, is a decent striker. Atletico Madrid, last season Champions League, were abysmal. They finished bottom of the group. They really embarrassed Spain. And so let's see how Atletico does this season because they have been great. They've been amazing, and I think the loss of Joao Felix has actually kind of benefited the team. I think the team is playing so much better without him, and the team is just looking a lot more free organized. Lazio, they're back in the Champions League after a few seasons not being here. Maurizio Sarri has done a good job to galvanize this team to get back in the top 4, and we know what they're capable of doing. They play very good football, possession-based football, and then we have Celtic, of course, who obviously won the Scottish League last season. So this is a very interesting group of guys. We have like 2 league champions in this group. Okay, so coming in last place, guys, I have a Celtic. Celtic, for me, I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to really struggle in this group, and they lost their big coach, Angie, to obviously Spurs, and I just feel like for me, Celtic, I'm sorry, they're just not going to do it. I just don't see them doing it in this group, and I think they're going to be very, very bad. Third in the group, I have Lazio. Lazio, for me, is a good team, but I have issues with Lazio. Lazio, for me, is a team I just don't trust. I really don't trust Lazio, especially for what they did last season Europa League. How do you manage to not qualify from that group? And you came in third place, you went to the Conference League, and then you got destroyed by AZ Alkmaar, and barely squeezed past CFR Cluj. So my issue with Lazio is that while this team is good on paper, this team does know how to screw things up. And I feel like what could very well happen in this group is that Lazio draw to Celtic when they shouldn't be at home per se, and I think it's going to hurt them. And obviously the loss of Milinkovic Savic is going to be a big loss. And obviously you have some decent players like Chiri Immobile is of course there. Then so yeah, I just feel like they're going to struggle. And then second place in the group is I have Feyenoord. I think Feyenoord will be able to do it, guys. I think Arne Slot's going to do a great job in this group. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Feyenoord actually and Lazio were actually in the same group last season in the Europa League. So maybe Lazio is going to want to get revenge, of course. But yeah, I think Feyenoord for me, they'll do enough, and I think they'll qualify. And then first, Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid should be topping this group with the quality players they have. The Group F we have is the Group of Death. This is the Group of Death, guys. This is going to be interesting, guys. So Group F, guys, we have PSG, man. Of course, they won the league on last season, and they've had an amazing window this summer. They brought in so many players. They brought in Kang League E. They brought in Guate. They brought in Asensio. They brought in Lucas Hernandez. Like, there are so many players they brought in this summer. I would be here all day if I were to list all of them. They've been amazing. And obviously they did lose 2 big players though this summer. 3 big players actually. Neymar, Messi, and Ramos have all left. So it'll be interesting to see how PSG does in this group. And then we have Dortmund, guys. Dortmund, of course, the team that actually messed up last season, the Bundesliga, were given ample amount of opportunities to win the league, and they fumbled it each time. Each time they fumbled it. And obviously they lost this summer Jude Bellingham. That's a huge, huge loss for them. He was one of the most integral players of the team. And obviously they brought in Fulkrug this summer as a striker. And I feel like for Dortmund, man, I just don't know what to get with this team. You just don't know what to expect with this team. The Milan, they've had a great window this summer. They brought in Pulisic this summer. They brought in Chukwueze. They brought in, Smusa as well. And this team is looking great, man. Now, they did lose one big player, though, Tonali. Tonali is a huge, huge loss. And, of course, he's actually at Newcastle, which we'll speak about them now. Newcastle, they surprised a lot of people last season, got top 4 in the Premier League. Defensively, we're very good. And you have players like Isaac, Bruno Guimaraes. Like, the team is unbelievable talent-wise. And you have to give credit to what Eddie Howe's done with the team. Then you also have Nick Pope as well. Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job with the team to get them back to the Champions League after a very long time. And this group is going to be very fascinating, guys. I'm really keen to see how this group pans out. So my predictions. 4th place I have is Borussia Dortmund. This might come as a very controversial pick, and I might get some abuse in the comments below. But hear me out, guys. I just feel like for me with Dortmund, I just don't trust this team. I could see Dortmund beating PSG in this group. But then I could also see them drawing at home to Newcastle. Or possibly losing at home to Newcastle. That's the team Dortmund is capable of doing. Because I look at this season so far, the Bundesliga. They've already dropped points. They already dropped points this season to teams they shouldn't be. And I just feel like for Dortmund in particular, these guys just don't have the mentality. These guys are just fragile when it comes to mentality. These guys are bottlers. And I'm sorry, guys. Dortmund, man, these guys are bricks. Prove me wrong, Dortmund. I will. If they finish above 3rd, I will apologize. But if they don't, you guys can get the receipt right here, guys. So I will gladly apologize. But honestly, guys, I just don't think Dortmund's going to do it. 3rd in the group, Newcastle. As exciting Newcastle has been, guys, I just feel like for me they're going to lack the experience. I just don't think they have the experience, the capabilities, the tactical nuance to go against PSG and Milan. I just feel like for me these teams are well coached. And I just feel like for me, even though PSG may be a mess on paper, they still have a lot of crazy players. PSG may be a mess off the pitch. Let me rephrase. PSG, while they may be disorganized, they still have the crazy names on paper, And I just feel like for Newcastle, for me, it's going to be very difficult for them to balance the Champions League and the Premier League. And I just feel like for me, they're going to struggle in this group. And that's the reason why I have them finish 3rd. I hope they could actually finish the top 2. That would be incredible. And the 2nd place, Milan. Milan, for me, have been amazing. And I just think that for them to get to the Champions League semifinals was incredible. And honestly, I could see them top the group. I honestly could. But I just feel like for me, Milan will just disappoint on the road. And that's going to ultimately what's going to cost them. Is I feel like they're going to not really do well against PSG. And that's what's going to let PSG to top the group. And I think PSG will eventually top this group given the players they have. And even though I'm not very convinced with this team, they still have Mbappe. Mbappe is still the player to look out for. This guy is going to be so important. Because honestly, guys, if PSG didn't have Mbappe, I probably would be changing my predictions drastically. I just think he is that important to the team. And like I said, guys, PSG, I just refuse to believe they're going to be playing in the Europa League. I refuse to believe that's going to very well happen. So, for PSG, man, they better qualify. Let's just put it this way. If I see a scenario of PHG's Europa League, we're gonna have to have an emergency stream on this channel. We're gonna have to have an emergency stream. Moving on to the penultimate group, guys. Group G, guys. We have Manchester City, of course, the Champions League winners from last season. Of course, we know what they're capable of doing. They have a lot of great players. You know, they have Rodri, Haaland, KDB. I mean, the list goes on and on. They have sold a lot of big players, though, this summer. They sold, obviously, Mahrez is gone. Gundogan is gone. They sold Cole Palmer as well. This Man City team, though, they have so much depth, though. So they have replaced them adequately with the likes of Kovacic and, of course, Vardiel as well. RB Leipzig, we know what they're capable of doing. RB Leipzig, you know, last season in the Champions League, they put up a good performance in the group stage, and then they got destroyed in the round of 16 against Man City, which coincidentally enough, they're actually in the same group. And so Leipzig, of course, they have some good players. Obviously, you have Dani Olmo, that's decent. Then you have, obviously they sold players like Vardiel this summer. They sold Nkunku this summer. They did bring Openda though. Openda from Lens. So it'll be interesting to see how Leipzig does. And Crvena Zvezda, man, they're back in the Champions League as Serbia champs. Of course, they almost made the Champions League last season, but they lost the playoffs to Maccabi Haifa on aggregate. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Of course, we know what they're capable of doing at home. Their home field, they're very, very good at home. Well, their home field, their home atmosphere is insane. And the young boys, of course, we know what they did. It's good to see they're back in the Champions League after a few seasons not being in it. So coming in last group is Young Boys. I just feel like for me, Young Boys, guys, this team, I just feel like for me, they're going to struggle in this group. And even though they did do well last time in the Champions League, I just feel like for me, they lost some big players. I think the loss, Pivcock, Sabachu is going to hurt them. And I just feel like for me, Young Boys, I just don't really see them doing it. I just think they're going to get destroyed. Crvena Zvezda, I think they'll get there just on the basis of their home games. I think their home games they'll do pretty well in, and which is the reason why I think they'll get third. And the second place in the group is RB Leipzig. I just don't think they have what it takes to compete against City. And then City, of course, to top the group. You know, City, this is a very straightforward group. I don't really think I need to be explaining much here, guys. I think this is going to finish how the pots are even laid out to be. So, yeah. Group H, guys, the final group here, guys. We have Royal Antwerp, Shakhtar Donetsk, Barcelona, and Porto. Let's start with Barcelona, of course. La Liga champions, guys. As a Barca fan, guys, I am glad we got an easy group. But, man, I am very concerned with Barcelona because our European record is atrocious. We haven't made it to the Champions League round of 16 for a long time now, guys. And we haven't even beaten a top 5 team. We've only won one game against a top 5 league team in the last 15 games. Only one win against Napoli. So for Barcelona, man, I'm just not really sure what Xavi's going to be doing in this group. We should be qualifying, though. Let's be real. But you never know with Xavi. Then we have FC Porto, of course. We know what this team was capable of doing. They topped last season's Champions League group. That was a very competitive group, you know. And we know what they did in the round of 16. They put up a very, very amicable fight against Inter. They just didn't have the finishing quality, though, to finish them off. And yeah, Porto, we know what they're capable of doing. They brought in some good players. They brought in this prospect. I think he's from Boca Juniors. So that's a good prospect to have. And of course, you still have the likes of Taremi that's still there, very much prevalent. Shakhtar Donetsk, of course, we know what they're capable of doing. This Champions League, they have proven to be a difficult team to beat. Obviously, Real Madrid struggled last season against them. I think they got a draw against Real Madrid last season at home. So we know what Shakhtar is capable of doing. Of course, Royal Antwerp, man, for the first time ever in their history, I think they're making the Champions League debut. So shout out to Royal Antwerp, man. They won the Belgium League. Vertonghen scored a crazy equalizer for them on the final match day. And it's good to see Antwerp is here, man. It's good to see. So my predictions, guys. Coming in last in the group is Shakhtar Donetsk. I feel like Shakhtar is going to really struggle in this group. And that even though Shakhtar have been a good team over the last couple of years, I feel like this team has regressed. They have lost so many integral players to this team. A lot of the best players they have left this club. And even though they are difficult to beat at home, I just don't really trust them on the road. And hence the reason why I think they're going to finish bottom. And yes, third, I have as Royal Antwerp. This might come as a very shock. I think they might be the lowest ranked team in all the Europe. I think they might be they have the lowest coefficient of all European teams, and I just feel like for me, Royal Antwerp, they're gonna do something special. I feel like this team is very defensively solid, and what they did this season in the Champions League qualifiers to beat AEK Athens is a incredible achievement, and I just feel like they're gonna do something in this group. I feel like they're gonna be better than a lot of people expect them to be. but I don't think they'll get top 2. And the second group has Porto. Porto, of course, we know what they're capable of doing. You have some crazy players, nice players like you got Evan Nilsson, Taremi, of course, Pepe as well. And yeah, like I said, guys, the team is pretty stacked. And you have Diego Costa as well. And then first, I have in the group is Barcelona. We should be topping this group. I'm sorry. If we don't top this group, I will personally be very mad because Xavi Hernandez, I have to question him significantly. We have to get 16 points from this group. Bare minimum, go unbeaten. 4 wins, 2 draws is the bare minimum. 14 points should be the bare minimum, let's be real. But I expect to see 16 points. Barcelona, we have a lot of good players on paper. We have the likes of Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Ronald Araujo, Jules Koundé, Christensen, Balde, Lewandowski, I expect Barcelona to top this group, and there should be no excuses. And I'm just saying this right now, guys. If Barcelona manages to go to the Europa League, I might take a sabbatical. I may possibly take a sabbatical. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. So I hope you guys did enjoy this comprehensive preview of the Champions League. I know there were some teams, I didn't really go too much into depth with the players, but I tried to do my best to be as comprehensive as I possibly could. So remember, guys, to leave me your predictions in the comments below, guys. And if you've made it this far, please comment down below. Hashtag #80Army. Hashtag AD8744. Actually, yeah, hashtag 80Army. Let's do that, okay? Hashtag 80Army. And I know you made it this far. So remember, guys, to like and subscribe. Comment up your thoughts, comments below. Remember, guys, to check out my other platforms in the description below to get my other access to social media platforms like Twitter, Discord, Instagram, all that good stuff, guys. And yeah, like I said, guys, and of course, consider becoming a member of the channel to get access to members' videos and member streams. And yeah, I'll see you guys later, man. Peace out.